Let's talk about data validation. It's one of my favorite tools and features of Excel. I use it all the time. It's a really cool way to add a dynamic element to your workbooks. Basically what data validation does is it allows you to specify what someone can type into a cell. So you can say only allow whole numbers, only allow numbers between 1 and 10, only allow positive integers or decimals or whatever. One of the most useful forms of data validation, the one that I use most often, is called list, which creates a drop-down menu of options based on a source list that you specify. So you can link to a list in cells that exists in your worksheet, or for the source you can actually just type in the values that you'd like that cell to take, separated by commas. You can also change the input message and the error alert, which can be a lot of fun. So let's jump into Excel and do a very quick example. Just got a blank worksheet here. What I'm going to do is create a list of months. So I'm going to start with Jan, use a little shortcut here called fill series. And so Excel recognized that when I typed Jan, I probably meant January. So when I pulled it down, 11 more rows, it guessed that I wanted that to fill in month abbreviations through December. And wouldn't you know, it was right. Excel's actually pretty smart sometimes. So now I've got my list. What I'm going to do in a new cell, let's just say D2, I'm going to go into the Data tab, go into Data Validation here, and just select Data Validation. So in the settings, this is where I set my criteria. So in the Allow drop-down, these are those options that I was referring to. I could say, only allow a whole number between 0 and 10, for instance. And then error alert, you can say, all right, I want a pop-up box to appear that says, cut it out, and say OK. Now all of a sudden, this D2 has the data validation criteria built in. So if I tried to type 11, I get my error that says cut it out. Same thing if I try to type 3.5, it's not a whole number, so I'll get the same error. So to get rid of a data validation rule, just go back into data validation, settings, and choose any value. Once you do that, you've kind of reset so you can type anything you want in there. I want to show you list because it's, in my opinion, the most useful. So I'm going to go to allow a list, and then my source, this is where I can select data in a range. I'm going to select A2 through A13, which is my source months, and just hit OK. And once I do that, it's created this drop down where now the only values that you're able to input into this cell are the values that are part of the list that I specified. So as we go on, I'll show you more examples of how this can become a very useful tool when you're building dashboards to kind of change other values in your workbook based on these selections that a user makes. So data validation, really helpful tool.